Great, thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Thank you. Well, it's actually quite apt for today because I'm going to be your mobile president. And as this building was built for the European Union, I'm going to tell you about the state of the mobile union. So what I'm going to cover in the next 45 minutes is really about past, present, and future mobility, some of which will be just general, my thoughts, industry thoughts, but also some SAP-specific stuff towards the end. So let's get straight in. So what's happened? We're actually in the fourth wave of computing now. I must admit, I'm going to show my age and say that I actually was a developer many, many years ago with mainframe computing. Mainframe computing was very IT-centric, very localized. We then went through the client-server days. And as I was introduced, I'm also from my Sybase background as well as SAP. So I was one of the first developers in a product called Power Builder, which was a client-server development tool. That spread the reach a little bit bigger. We then had the internet boom, which obviously opened everything up. And we now are in unwired computing, mobility, which is really human-centric, consumer-driven now, and very global. We had the 1972 slides this morning. If you look at the facts and figures in mobility here, it's quite surprising. Mobility has been around since about 1956. Obviously, if we take a date very close to the actual birth of SAP, you see 1973, the first mobile phone. And that's actually the first mass-produced consumer-available mobile phone, that huge brick. You may remember seeing people in 1973 with that. We then had the smartphones starting to appear in 1992. And for me, probably the most important smartphone at the time and the platform was the Pocket PC platform from Microsoft in 2002. We then had the birth of BlackBerry and also the Motorola Razr, which was the first consumer fashion phone, which really did drive the mobile phones into everyone's hands. Pat this morning said about everybody having a mobile phone, and also the fact that there are more mobile phones than toothbrushes. The big inflection point for me where mobility took off was Apple in 2007 with the iPhone, quickly followed by Android in 2008. And then we have the App Store birth and also the iPad. Can I have a show of hands? How many people have got a tablet device now, whether it be an iPad or a Galaxy device? Quite a few. I can just about see you. So mobility in the past, what was mobility all around? Mobility was all around the line item on an accountant spreadsheet. They weren't really bothered about so much the apps, but they were bothered about how many calls you were making, how much data you were using. If there was a mobile deployment, it was very tactical, it was very departmental. There were very strict rules on devices. I remember when I first joined Sybase, the choice was a Nokia phone or a Nokia phone. Then eventually it became I could have a BlackBerry or a different type of BlackBerry. So it was very strict, and corporate really controlled everything. The versions of mobility that we've seen in the last few years started with Mobility 1.0. And I put it to you, Mobility 1.0 was all around extending the enterprise. So actually taking existing systems that were on the desktop and taking them out to the information worker. There will be some terms I use throughout this speech, and we'll come back and visit them in slides. We then have, and we're in the phase now of Mobility 2.0. Mobility 2.0 is all about transforming the enterprise. So actually, not only taking these apps, but actually, how do I change my business processes, mobilizing them? How do I interact? How do I interact with the consumer? So we're really into that latter stage, Mobility 2.0, though we still see companies taking their first steps in Mobility 1. Whatever you do, you'll always have a number of hurdles. And I've sort of grouped them here under what to mobilize, how to mobilize, and how to deploy. So you'll always wonder, how can I actually get that productivity gain? How can I measure my return on investment? And what can I actually do with what I've got already? How do I connect to these back-end systems, these SAP systems, these other systems I may have? How can I develop these apps? How can I develop them in a future-proof way so that when I actually get more people coming into my company, I can support them. How can I minimize the learning curve, not only for the users of the apps, but actually for my developers themselves? And then, once I've developed these apps, or bought these apps, how can I push them out to these devices? How can I make sure my data is secure? So I mentioned devices. We've got a number of mobile devices now. The number and type of these internet protocol connected devices are really, it's increasing quite dramatically. We had over the number of last few years, Google acquiring Motorola IMM. We had Microsoft and Nokia actually going into a partnership. Who would ever think that? We had HP also acquire WebOS, and then HP decide possibly to take themselves out of the mobile market. So we're also seeing the changing leaders in sales. You know, you read that the iPhone's the biggest seller, or the new Galaxy device is the biggest seller. So that's constantly changing. But whatever about these devices, you've really got a lot of power in your hands. These devices have more computing power than probably one of the early space shuttles. We saw pictures over the last few weeks of the space shuttles being sort of given to different museums. Some of those early space shuttles have less power in their computing devices than you have in your hands now. So what's happening with the present? We mentioned past. What about present? Present mobility is all around being proactive and instantly reactive. I mentioned something called the information worker. They need strategic apps. They need apps that are also enterprise-wide. And one of the terms I'm going to introduce there is CMDs, so converged mobile devices. It's no longer just good to say smartphones or tablets. These devices actually merge everything into one. They're devices that can make communication calls, they can make data transmissions, they have lots of other features. So I tend to use the word converged mobile devices now. So what's the main challenge in mobility now? Main challenge in mobility is consumerization. Consumerization, the adoption and use of personal devices in the workplace. And not only with the personal devices, it comes with the consumer apps as well. And for the CIO, it can be really disruptive. So the CIO has to decide, are we going to resist this, or are we going to embrace it? Now, we at SAP embraced the fact, and if you've been watching what Oliver Bussmann, our CIO, has been mentioning over the last few months, you know, it's all around something called bring your own device. So me as an SAP employee, I could bring a device into SAP and have it enrolled and managed. We also see choose your own device. Now, choose your own device is slightly different, but it actually gets the same end. It's corporate controlled consumerization. So you actually come in, and rather than, as I said before, you know, having the choice of a BlackBerry device or a BlackBerry device, I can say you can choose this iPad, this Galaxy device, this iPhone, and this Galaxy, you know, mobile phone as well. So you can actually give sort of a wider choice. But the thing is, it's corporately owned but personally enabled. And that personal enablement is quite good, because that personal enablement gives your employees, your workers, that personal bond between the device. It actually reduces the amount of times that these devices are either damaged or lost. Another key issue around mobility is device security. Obviously, you have very, I'd say expensive, but you have very rich data. And when you put that data on a device that's worth maybe 400 or 500 euros, the actual value of that device grows immensely. It becomes very important to actually secure that device. So if it's lost or stolen, people can't gain access to your data, which is your crown jewel. Sorry, I'm using, you know, Queen's Jubilee sort of speech now. The great thing about security, and the thing you must remember, there's two types of security. You have local security and you have remote. Local is all around things like controlling your device with passcodes, which may use a hardware encryption, such as on the iPad, or an encryption API. If you're a developer, you want to develop very secure data stores and very secure applications. Then we have the remote security side, which is all around securing that device so that if it's lost or stolen, data can be faded away or wiped and back to its vanilla state, just as if it came out of the box. And that is all around device security, enrolling on a mobile device platform. So as in mobile device management. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, and we'll give a name check to an SAP product later. It's all around consumerization is a term you'll hear is the prosumer. Now, I've said tablet devices. Who has a mobile device they use day in, day out for work, whether it's given to them or it's their own device? Hands up. Okay, so you guys who do that, you're all prosumers. You're a professional user of a consumer device, and you have a real sort of a great mindset, which is driving a lot of innovation in the enterprise, because the prosumer is all around. They realize what the device can do. They know what apps can do. They know what the App Store experience is all around. So the prosumer, you guys out there, are all demanding things like amazing, beautiful, compelling apps and ones that are really easy. So mobile apps have to have the look. And the great thing is now you have to think about the user experience. And user experience is all around user interaction, user interface design, and graphical design as well. If you want to see some really great apps that have the look and have great UX, go outside during the lunchtime and check out the mobility apps from SAP. They've all been built by fantastic UX designers. So the key point about UX is all around following guidelines. Now, whatever platform, mobility platform or mobile platform you go for, you'll have something which is termed a human interface guideline. And it helps the prosumer and the new user to how the app's perceived, learned, and ultimately used, because it's a great, if you're an iPad user, an iPhone user, you know how to use it. You want an app to run the same way. If you're an Android user, you know how that works. You want the apps to run and look the same way. The key point of UX is the fact that you need to validate the user's needs and design for some awesome user experience. So I mentioned about apps earlier on, and apps in the enterprise are a real thing that's happening now. The fact that we want to give your information worker, the worker that's out in the field, access to corporate data at their hands whenever they want it, whenever they need it, whether they're in an area which has no cellular coverage, no Wi-Fi coverage, they still demand access to that. We want to give them it in wonderful ways. Mobility is all around empowering and innovating. We've talked about innovation this morning, or Pat did. And you can see some really great innovative apps with the SAP, CRM, human resources, transport, and medical apps. There's a lot more. We'll talk about the App Store, where you can go to see some of these things later. So innovation. Building in-house apps is really being all about innovation. Giving your IT department the possibility to build very innovative apps and mobilize these back-end systems that you have, whether they be SAP systems or other databases, maybe legacy systems that you've got. It's all about innovating and advancing and building for these prosumers that demand these amazing, beautiful, and compelling apps. Apps which are available because they need to be online all the time, or at least have the data. Simple and efficient. A lot of companies now, a lot of companies that I see are actually building or employing people called Chief Mobility Officers. In that diagram in the center, I've called them the CMOO. So the Chief Mobility Officer is all about understanding the trends and directions of mobility and reducing any of these wasted times. They're actually the bridge between IT and business. They know what can be achieved. They form what I've termed there the Mobility Innovation Council. Think of a Mobility Innovation Council, or a MIC, as a brains trust or an ideas incubator. You'll have people within that MIC which are stakeholders in the business, the end user, obviously, mobile development team members, and also the mobile architect, all brought together by the Chief Mobility Officer to come up with ideas that will really empower the business. So I talked about apps, I talked about the CMO, I talked about the Mobility Innovation Council. But these great 5-star apps that you can produce, what do we at SAP think that you should be doing? And I've put together a number of things, and we'll go around this chart in a clockwise fashion. First of all, let's just talk about building the business case. So the CMO and the Mobility Innovation Council are all there to be visionaries. They're there to build ideas of what apps can be built for actual needs that the users have. They're there to produce something called an ADS, or an application definition statement. And this is a sort of 1 or 2 paragraph piece of information which defines that application, and it's stuck on the wall, and that's what should be produced at the end. It sort of reduces feature creep. You need to control the budget, obviously. You need to plan for device management and security. This is something that you'll keep on seeing in my slides. The fact that if you're thinking about mobility, you shouldn't be thinking about mobility, device management and security at the end, after you started building the apps. You should be thinking about this straight away, because as soon as these devices are empowered, you need to control them. So it's better to do that first than later. And you also need to, I mentioned these great, wonderful apps. How are you going to build for many different backends with many different devices? You should be thinking about a platform. And again, we'll return in the presentation to something called the Sybase Unwired platform. It's what Gartner termed about a year ago of a mobile enterprise application platform, or a MEAP. So how do enterprise developers improve the relationship with their users? There's always been quite a disjoint between developers and end users. And with mobility, you need to bring that really down, because the prosumer demands so much. So you need to live several days in the life of an end user, observing how they work, where they work, what they do, their patterns of work. You need to know or have them as part of the usability and testing cycle. They're going to be the stakeholders as well. The end users will be the stakeholders. So they need to be part of this brains trust, this Mobility Innovation Council. And the consumer, or the prosumer, they know about these apps. They know what they like, and you should learn from them and really listen. Because the end user has the business expertise. You're all business experts, and we can build apps for you. So what makes this engaging app? We've said amazing, beautiful, compelling. It's not just an extension of a PC-based system or a console-based system. You've got to be innovative. You've got to think sort of outside of the box. Onto this small device, you can't just take everything from an existing system. And these new devices can actually display data in new, weird and wonderful ways. You can interact with it. You can interact with the devices outside at lunch as well. You also have to actually adapt to the users as well, because they know how to use these devices. So how are all these apps shaping business? Well, I mentioned a few already. Cost reduction, actually making sure that these existing systems can be reused. Streamlining the business process, so you have a business process which may take maybe a few hours. A mobile app can take that down to seconds or maybe minutes. If you have a process, let's take an extremely simple process of a vacation request. You want to go on holiday. I'm going to make this request. My manager will actually receive that request and say yes or no. Hopefully he'll say yes. You don't want to burn yourself out. You want to have some vacation time. That could take a couple of days in a paper-based system, but on a mobile app, it could take seconds or less than a minute. With all of these apps, it's all about increasing employee satisfaction and effectiveness. You want a happy workforce. A happy workforce is out there using data that gives them the rapid response they need. We know about the economy. We know that the economy actually, you need to be ahead of the game. So you need to be proactive rather than reactive. You need to respond very quickly. You need to be ahead of your competitors. And mobility and mobile apps can give you this. So what do they expect from these apps? We've said amazing, beautiful, compelling, graphical, having data online all the time. So I come from a mobile era where we had the saying, always available, occasionally connected, meaning that data is always available, but you may or may not have wireless access. I can be up in an aircraft. I know aircraft are becoming Wi-Fi enabled now, but I could be up in an aircraft and still be interacting with some CRM data. I want to be able to maybe touch the data and sort of drill down, maybe some mobile analytics. Again, if you want to know how we deal with these in the SAP mobile apps, go outside and check out Thomas later. We want to reduce data entry. We want to go out there as our mobile worker, put information in, and have that synchronized securely back to our back-end systems. And we also want to capture new forms of data. These devices can capture, voice, camera, GPS data, so lots more data. And we don't even know what's coming up next. Apple have their conference in about a week's time. We don't know what weird and wonderful things they're going to be bringing out next. And then Samsung will probably come along and maybe sort of leapfrog them. They're always playing catch-up, these companies. So going back to these key issues, again, going back to management, because I think it's really quite important. You're going to be deploying these apps, these great apps that you've built, but you want to tie down certain device features. So a lot of companies look at key issues of management being in the area of, I don't want people to have Dropbox. I don't want them to be able to put my corporate data out on a public cloud somewhere. Or I don't want them to have iCloud access on iOS. We can do all these things with mobile device management. We can restrict these features, these device features. We can restrict data roaming. If my company decides that while I'm in Slovenia, I can't actually use data roaming, they can actually force the device to not have data access while I'm here. And this is all around the mobile device management platform. So what you see behind me now is what we've got at SAP, the SAP mobile platform. In the center, and what I'm really going to talk about is the three boxes, the MEP, the MDM, and the MCAP. So the MEP is a Sybase unwired platform, and I'll show you a graphic in a second. The mobile device management section is called Afaria, and the mobile commerce application platform is from one of our companies called Sybase 365. Pat mentioned in his presentation about the number of messages and transactions that that SAP have, and that's all around Mobile 365. And all of these can access SAP Business Suite, they can access other databases, and they can access third-party systems as well. So they're very back-end agnostic. So the Sybase Unwired platform, we have 4 areas: connect, create, consume, and control. We can connect to databases, SQL databases, web services, other software applications, and even SAP through NetWeaver Gateway. We can create applications. Well, what we're going to create is what's in that top left-hand box, and it says mobile business objects. And mobile business objects are a way of actually describing what data you want to synchronize from that back-end system to that device. Then we can consume, and we can consume via many different devices, and we can do that in 2 ways. We've got something called a hybrid web container, which is based on HTML5 technology. So you can build that mobile app through things like CSS, HTML5, PhoneGap, and actually push it out on different devices. But you can also build native apps. So if you have Java developers, or C# developers, or Objective-C developers, you can build rich native apps for those different devices on the left-hand side. And we can control it all, because we need to control that. And what we're controlling there is the applications, not so much the devices. We control the devices through mobile management. I've mentioned some of these best practices already. Being prepared, planning ahead, establishing guidelines, coming up with some governance policies. It's always great to have governance policies. And some of these things would be tasks that the Chief Mobility Officer would need to do. We need to leverage the technology that we have in device as well as server, and ensure that we secure our applications. And we need to plan for transparency, because these information workers are out in the field. They don't want to come back every 5 minutes if they need the device to be updated somehow. They need it all to happen over the air. So let's talk about Afaria for a few seconds. Afaria can be broken down into 3 areas: provisioning, production, and decommissioning. So we can, over the air, as I mentioned, put that device into a managed state with the Afaria server. So we can do that without the person being there. We can actually send them the device, courier the device to them. They can then be sent an email, and then the whole enrollment process can happen over the air. We can establish security policies, and that's a great thing, and again, something that the Chief Mobility Officer and his team would have to do. Decide what people should have, what applications. Should we have a firewall? Should we encrypt this device? Should we set certain things like passcodes? We should obviously do that straight away. So this device has then been provisioned. So what do we do then? In production, we can track these devices. We can track them in a locational way, but also with the applications that are put on them. We can also maintain and modify configuration. Obviously, as time goes by, you may decide that certain features shouldn't be enabled on devices, certain features should be. We wanted to see if there's any licensing issues with the software that's been installed. We can track that as well. We can remote control devices. As I mentioned already, we don't want the workers to come in. If they've got a problem, we can connect to that device and control it for them and sort it out. We need to secure that device as well. Obviously, it's a great thing to do to back up the device and back up it in a way that's totally transparent to that user. And then comes the horrible part of decommissioning. I say horrible because it usually happens if the device has been lost or stolen. Most common place for a mobile device to be lost or stolen: taxi or an airport, usually a taxi. A lot of people just, they're working away, they'll put it down and they get out the taxi, or if they're in an airport, they're in a coffee shop, they'll walk away. So you need to be able to manage these devices and decommission them in a way of wiping them totally, as I've mentioned already, or if that device never actually hits a data network again, the data just faded away gradually, maybe over a couple of weeks. You don't want a policy that the data's faded away after a week, because after a 2-week vacation, you'll come back, your data's gone, and it's not going to be, you're not going to have very many happy users. Maybe like 3-4 weeks, the data will be faded away. That device may also be decommissioned in a way that you decide that person's left, it comes back in, and you can wipe it that way. Decommissioning in an area of bring your own device is actually quite interesting, because when you enroll a device in something like a mobile device management platform such as Afaria, you're allowing people to have their personal data on there as well as their corporate data. So decommissioning a device which is either bring your own device or choose your own device, because remember, choose your own device actually has that COPE, corporately owned, personally enabled feature as well, is that when that device is, maybe that user decides that they don't want to work for the company anymore, they leave, you can decommission that device in a way that only the corporate data disappears. Their personal data is totally separate. So I mentioned right at the start the prosumer. Now the prosumer actually is, I say, quite an important person. He has the ability to track, change everything, make the CMO work in a certain way. They have this expectation of the App Store. So the enterprise apps that you will build can also be pushed out with Afaria as well. So it allows the user to be told of what applications that they should have on their device, and maybe some that they would like to have on their device. And a lot of the consumer app stores now are allowing the ability to buy multiple licenses. So you'll be able to push out certain apps without your prosumer, your information worker, having to use their own money and claim that back. You can push those out. So I mentioned right at the start, I'm a mobile evangelist at Sybase and SAP, but I also have this real history of being a developer. So I started too many years ago to remember, but I still have the developers at heart. And we've got a great feature, which I don't know whether you know about, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you now. We're actually redefining the developer experience at SAP. And this isn't just in the areas of mobility, though I'm going to show you some slides about mobility, but in the areas of HANA, as well as other cloud and other features as well. It's a great SAP developer program where we can help you learn, build, and sell. So the Learn section is all around the SAP Developer Center, and that gives you the ability to have a trial edition. Now, me as a developer in the past, I would always like to try out the new technology, but did I want to put it on my current desktop machine or laptop? Probably not. Could I find a new one? Or maybe sometimes, you know, free machines are few and far between. So we can give you this trial edition, and I'll go a little bit deeper into what that trial edition means in a while. We also have developer challenges and days, code jams as well. They're quite important. Then we can help you to build on the experience of learning. We've given you things like Code Exchange, where you can see what other people have been doing, partnering with us in our community network as well. And then going into selling, where we have the SAP store, or sometimes we call it the SAP store. And we can do co-marketing and application certification as well. But let's just go into the first one, learning. So I'd say it removes this barrier of, can I get a device? You know, can I get a device? No. Do I want to put it on my current device, which is a production machine? No, probably not. I probably don't want to do that. And you know, then how do I get up to speed really quickly? We said in an early slide to reduce that learning curve. We want hands-on experience, and you want some help by some of the guys in the trade as well. So that's the URL. If you want to write that down, developer.sap.com. If you add a /mobile at the end of it as well, you'll go to the mobile-specific section. You can see there on that slide, there's an SAP HANA, mobility platform, cloud platform, and APIs, SDKs, and other libraries. The SAP Mobile Sandbox trial is a real innovation. It's fantastic. It's magical. I love it. We can actually go through that link and request access to this, and it's a cloud instance of a Windows machine configured with the unwired platform, access to an SAP CRM system with emulators, BlackBerry emulators, already built, already configured. So you can literally hit the ground running. You turn it on, you log in, it's there. And then we can give you access to tutorials, which are videos, white papers, some really great sort of education material as well. We do have education classes as well. I'm not trying to be a salesman, honestly. So this is a great thing. I wish I had this when I was learning mobility 5, 6 years ago, client server, you know, 20 years ago. The SAP store. So I mentioned already a number of times. Remember the first name, Thomas. Are you here, Thomas? He's not. Right, that's good, because he'll probably tell me off for mentioning his name so many times. He's outside, and as you leave the auditorium for lunch, if you turn left, he's there with his mobile apps. We have over 70 mobile apps, and these are from SAP, because I said we have great developers, great user experience people. But we also have a great ecosystem of partners out there. So we're blending together these wonderful apps that if you go into the SAP store, or, you know, the SAP store for mobile apps, you can go through and we'll teach you how to select some of these apps, whether they're good for you and they're a great fit. And we can actually give you sort of offline versions so you can try them out. So if you want to go to outside, you can go there. By the way, when I finish, if you're interested, if you've got an Android device or an iOS device that you've got a QR code reader, you can come and scan this. I'll leave this on once I finish, and it'll actually take you to your app store of choice and download the SAP store client for you. So, okay, global smartphone users. They've said earlier, you know, it's going to become extremely big. Park Associates last year made a conservative, I think it's quite conservative, because I think the way we are is actually going to change totally. 2 billion devices by 2015. If you remember back to that one of the first slides where I put the timeline, the dates in mobility, one of the things you probably maybe didn't notice, but you'll sort of understand where I'm coming from when I mention it, is each of these dates that I put down are getting closer and closer. You know, can you remember the first time you saw somebody with a mobile phone? And it was strange. You looked, what have they got? They've got a mobile phone. Then after about, say, 10 years, is that a good estimate, 10 years? Everybody's got a mobile phone. You don't look twice. Then you may have seen your first smartphone, and you thought, okay, don't know what that is. And then after about maybe 2 or 3 years, everybody seems to have a smartphone. Then the tablet device came out. That was quite interesting. So you saw tablet devices being used. And then maybe in 6 months, you didn't even look twice. When the iPad 2 came out, you didn't look twice. The cycle is actually getting tighter and tighter. So that, I think, is quite a conservative estimate. We'll actually see a lot more devices. And Pat mentioned there's a lot more devices going to be shipped this year and next year than ever before. So the mobility in the enterprise is really growing rapidly. If you haven't got information workers, you will have. If you're not an information worker, you will be. These figures are really saying that. 46% of employees work from home. I hope I'm going to work from home during the Olympics because I live outside of London and I don't want to come into London. 1 in 5 employees work while going on the go. I must admit, as soon as I got my mobile device, I seem to be working 24 hours a day, answering emails, you know, getting included into conference calls. It just goes on and on. Sometimes you have to turn the device off. It's hard, I know, but sometimes you have to do it. So here's my iOS crystal ball. So I had this crystal ball looking into the future. I do think that we're going to have massive market growth for tablet devices and huge take-up within the enterprise space already. This is what the presentation's all around. I know that for a fact. I had a partner in London, a financial partner building apps for financial institutions. And when the let's take the iPhone as an example. When the iPhone came out, it's build me an iPhone app. I need an iPhone app to access corporate data. As soon as the iPad came out, it was totally switched. I want an iPad app, and if I've got time or if I've got the need, I'll have an iPhone app later. So I think we'll see a lot of tablet devices. I think the tablet device is the new laptop. The laptop's now been taken down to becoming a desktop, and I think the desktop now is really something like more like a server, back-end server. You know, we're going to see less and less. Even the traditional computing model of having a bigger device is more the fact that the laptop is the standard device for the desktop. We'll see mobile internet usage surpass that. In fact, that's probably already happened. You know, there's lots of countries that I've gone to where people just don't use their broadband connection anymore. Usually in the areas of what I've termed towards the bottom of that slide, long-term evolution or 4G. Now this is the new, extremely high-speed access we're going to start seeing rolling out when they start selling the spectrums across Europe. So we'll see a lot more. In the Nordic countries, they're already having 4G, and that's where I've spoken to people and they've said, broadband, home broadband, don't use it anymore, just use mobile internet. Voice recognition, I think the Siri, implementation of Siri on iOS has become very important. Obviously, Android have got a similar thing as well. We're going to see lots more apps on the App Store, whether they be in the consumer App Store or your enterprise App Store. I also think, we've been talking about this for a while, and I think that in this year especially, we're going to see a lot more NFC, or near-field communication devices. Near-field communication gives you this access, where you can actually transmit data just in a few feet, a few meters. Usually, in the past, we've used it for higher value goods, maybe in a warehouse as they were leaving. But now we're going to use that, or something called BLE, which is Bluetooth Low Emission, on these mobile devices, so that we can come up with something called the M-Wallet. So the M-Wallet, you saw a very similar payment system from Sybase 365 in one of the earlier videos, which is M-Payment, M-Remittance, M-Banking. But you can see the M-Wallet coming up as well. We'll have facial recognition because security's got to get a lot tighter, so these devices will recognize you as well as having other passcodes for encryption. Devices become smaller, lighter, thinner, a bit like the Bionic Man, if anything. And they'll be connected to more external devices. I know for a fact at the moment devices will be, have been connected to heart, blood pressure, blood sugar monitors as well. So really, the strength of mobility is the fact that mobility is now the norm. It gives you the opportunities and advantages in business. So, you can reduce these business processes. You can give the data to your information workers where they want it, when they want it, at the point it's really necessary. To use an Olympic analogy, if you're a company and you're not looking at mobilizing your data, your information, you're going to be left in the starting blocks where all your other competitors are just streaking away from you, sprinting away towards that finishing line. You need to give that business information access anytime they want it, anywhere they need it. So thank you very much. I've actually finished 5 minutes under, which is good for lunch. Obviously, we're all hungry. So I'm going to leave you with two points there. Enterprise computing is mobility, and mobility is now. So if you're not thinking about mobility, you should be. And SAP will make you run like never before on mobile. There's my blogs, there's my Twitter. I'm Ian Thain. Thank you very much.